My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes into office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas.
And that was Vice President Kamala Harris claiming that if elected, her administration will be different. She went on to tell Fox News that she represents, quote, a new generation of leadership. Harris-Walz campaign co-chair Cedric Richmond joins us now. Great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. So I want to talk a little bit about that quote. What specific policies is the vice president differentiating herself from President Biden?
Well, I'll tell you, President Biden had a different game plan and strategy and policy than President Obama. And Vice President Harris is going to deviate from President Biden. And I'll give you 3 areas that I could think of right now. If you look at her health care plan, by allowing seniors to get home health covered by Medicare so that they can stay in their homes, they can help with that sandwich generation where you're caring for a kid and a parent, she's going to provide help there. And that is a significant relief for those families that are being burdened by health care costs and the cost of senior living. Another one is housing. Housing is an incredibly expensive cost for people right now. President Biden wanted to do it over 8 years. Kamala Harris has decided she's going to do it in 4 years and build 3 million new housing units by partnering with the private sector, reducing red tape, and creating those public-private partnerships so that we can get it done and bring housing costs down, and also offer a $25,000 incentive for those first-time home buyers to purchase the American dream. And she's also articulated that she would have a Republican in her cabinet, and that is to, one, because we don't have a monopoly on good ideas, and also to bring the country together, unify the country, but 3, to start moving forward and not just living in the past, which Donald Trump wants to do. So that's 3 right there.
I do want to ask you about the outreach this week to black male voters. This seemed to be, obviously an overt strategy by the Harris campaign. How concerned are you that this group is not going to turn out in the numbers that they did for Biden in 2020?
Well, I'll say a couple of things. First of all, over 80% of African-American men are with Kamala Harris, and that's an incredible number. But you don't get them by default. You don't get them automatically. You have to talk to them. And they deserve to know what you're going to do for them and answer the question of what's in it for me? What does the future look like if you win for me? And that's what she's doing. And by the way, she's been meeting with African-American male leaders on African-American male issues for over a year now, well before the campaign started and well before she was the nominee. So we have to go out and earn every vote this election. We talk about seniors. We talk about rural America. We talk about women and their reproductive freedoms. And we're talking to African-American males about the opportunity for them to take their future in their own hands. And that is to vote for the candidate who represents the best future for you. So we laid out an agenda to show them her economic plan, her health plan, her entrepreneurship plan, all of those plans that would affect them and lead them to this new opportunity economy and a more prosperous and more perfect union for them. And so I think it was a smart move, and we were answering the question that many African-American males have been asking, which is, what's your plan for the black community? What's your plans for African-American males? And we answered it with a very substantive plan.
I mean, former President Obama seemed pretty concerned as well, and he also seemed to suggest that there's some sexism at play here. Do you agree with his approach to this group and what he said?
Look, President Obama is a former president of the United States of America, and I think what he was highlighting was the opportunity for African-American males to be co-architects of their own future and to take their destiny in their own hands by showing up to the polls, voicing their vote, or letting their vote be their voice. And I think that was what he was, that's what he was attempting to talk about. And look, he was very direct, and he has a right to do that as a former president. But I think the bottom line was he was really pinpointing and putting an exclamation point on the fact that African-American men have an opportunity in this election to be the margin of difference, to be game changers, but more importantly, to take their future in their own hands and let their voice be heard.
And I want to ask you just quickly, I know Harris is on a tour of the blue wall states, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Those are key states, of course, but we also have this new polling in Arizona where where Donald Trump, I should say, has a slight edge. Can you win without Arizona? How concerned are you about the conditions in that state right now?
We have multiple paths to victory, but we always said that this was going to be a close race. We also said that Vice President Harris should be considered an underdog. But I will tell you this. If you look at the battleground states, all the states are pretty much within the margin of difference. They're all a toss-up. That's why you see Vice President Harris leaving it all on the field. She's on Fox. She's on Charlemagne. She's going everywhere to talk to people. She's meeting the voters where they are to talk to them about her vision for the future and what she believes is in their best interest in terms of moving this country forward, not going backwards. And I think that we expect a close race, and we're going to go out there and fight for every vote. And we're going to do it by talking about a vision for America and moving this country forward, uniting it. We're not going to do what President Trump is doing, which is talking about revenge and talking about enemies within and turning the federal army on its own citizens. And I think it's a very stark contrast of the two candidates. And we have a little over, 18, 19 days to go make the case to the American people about why Kamala Harris should be the next president of the United States.
All right, it is a toss-up race indeed. Well, Cedric Richmond, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.